there is a bigger picture into the entire situation. And I personally think that that's the time to do a stop, calm everything down, and not get into a multi-front situation that will include, we don't want to think about it, it will include Syria and Lebanon and Iran and Turkey and China. So my personal opinion is to reach this agreement, of course, if Hamas will agree, and to think wisely how to take it forward.
Well, I'm Amitabh. Revi. Today we're discussing the situation that Israel finds itself in and Israel-India relations with Anat Bernstein-Reich. She's the chairperson of the Israel-Asia Chambers of Commerce. She's also the CEO of BDO Israel-India Investment Banking and was a Friend of India Awardee in 2020. Anat, thanks so much for giving us time and joining us from Tel Aviv.
Thanks for having me again, Amitabh. It's always a pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours. Just want to talk about latest developments. I mean, there are hopes for some kind of a deal, ceasefire deal plus hostage release deal. There are talks going on in Qatar with I think the Mossad chief is there. Prime Minister Netanyahu has spoken to President Biden about a so-called revised Hamas proposal, which details are not really publicly known. But I just wanted to get your perspective as an Israeli citizen. Are we any closer to reaching some kind of a deal to stop hostilities?
I truly hope so. I truly hope so, because it's a make it or break it situation at the moment. The North Front is escalating. The Hezbollah is intensifying its attacks on Israel. The Israelis are intensifying their protest against the government, pleading for them to release the hostage and get into a pact with Hamas to release the hostage. So it's all eventually connected. Pressure from outside, from Biden, from the international community, and of course from inside. And eventually, it's my personal, of course, wish there will be a pact with Hamas, although Hamas is, I would say, very tricky in the way they behave. For one moment they say one thing, the other moment they say the other thing. So I don't know how Hamas will eventually react to the proposal, but I know that in Israel there is a real intention now to go into the boardroom and try to reach a pact, which includes, of course, release of the 120 hostages that we still have captive in Gaza. Many of them are already died, unfortunately, but tens of them are alive. It includes young women, old men above 80, and even 2 children below the age of 6 that are still kept in Gaza. So there is a big pressure here. And I truly hope that, there were several cycles of those discussions in Qatar and in Egypt and elsewhere. But I hope that this time it will succeed. And again, the pressure from inside is very massive to reach an agreement.
But that's what seems to be, at least from the outside, an irony. I mean, in the sense that if Prime Minister Netanyahu agrees to some kind of a proposal before Hamas is, quote unquote, completely destroyed, there are even more far-right coalition members in the cabinet who threatened to withdraw or leave the cabinet, which would mean that his prime ministership would be jeopardized. So if he takes that deal.
This is the big dilemma of Netanyahu those days, because as you rightly said, the far right parties, there are 2, mainly Mr. Ben-Gvir and Minister Smotrich, are pushing Netanyahu's government to continue in full force the operation in Gaza. And they are kind of calling it the ultimate win. But we are realistic, okay? And by now, after 9 months, we are now almost 9 months since October 7, we realized that to eradicate Hamas totally, probably it's difficult at the moment, especially when we have the hostages there. And the hostage is a major part in this equation. So as much as we want to eradicate Hamas, this evil terrorist group, we understand that maybe it's not possible totally, and we need first to release the hostages and later work with the international community to take Hamas out of Gaza and bring some normality to the Palestinians in Gaza. But well, it took us 9 months, and I think that the public opinion understand that we cannot really eradicate those monsters, as we call them, and Mr. Sinwar, and we need to think again how to manage the situation. And it's also connected, as I said, to the north. So it's better to stop now, bring peace, do assess condition about the entire situation in our region, create better coalitions with Biden, with other countries, and then progress. I mean, we are here in this country for many years. We understand that those problems doesn't end within a day or a year. It's a long process, and maybe we will get into also a peace treaty with Saudi Arabia. So there is a bigger picture into the entire situation. And I personally think that that's the time to do a stop, calm everything down, and not get into a multi-front situation that will include, we don't want to think about it, it will include Syria and Lebanon and Iran and Turkey and China. So my personal opinion is to reach this agreement, of course, if Hamas will agree, and to think wisely how to take it forward.
Multi-front you've been mentioning, you mentioned the North twice already that we've spoken. What is the situation vis-a-vis Lebanon and Hezbollah?
So Lebanon is a country, a sovereign country, but it was taken hostage by another terrorist organization called Hezbollah, headed by Mr. Nasrallah. And they have took over the south of Lebanon, created bases of militants in south of Lebanon, and from there, they're attacking only on a daily basis the north of Israel. There are few cities that were evacuated because the artillery that comes from Lebanon, from Hezbollah, is unbearable. There is a city called Metula that 1/3 of the houses were destroyed because of those missiles and rockets and drones attacks on the north of Israel. So maybe people don't hear about it, and everyone looks at Gaza and Palestinians, but the story at the moment is actually the north of Israel. 100,000 people fled their homes because of this situation, and Hezbollah continues to attack. Now, Hezbollah is supporting their friends in Gaza, of course. Both of them are actually reporting to Iran that sponsors them. And the people of the north suffering, the agriculture is suffering because a lot of the agriculture of Israel is based in the north of Israel. And again, we talk about Sinwar and the hostages, but also we have a challenge in the north. So if we club them together, it means that we need to stop the operation in Gaza. And as Nasrallah said, if the operation in Gaza will stop, he will stop. So both are connected, and I hope that it will bring some sanity to our region.
Again, when you're talking about Lebanon and you know what happened in, what was it, 1982, but would Hezbollah have learned its lessons, gone in deeper, I mean, deeper into Lebanon, which means further away from Israel? Would Israeli troops have to again go into Israel, and what would be the ramifications and the repercussions vis-a-vis, say, Iran?
Oh, so at the moment, Hezbollah sits in the south of Lebanon, but of course, he reaches Beirut, and last week it was told that Beirut airport is actually serving as ammunition storage for Hezbollah. And again, Hezbollah, and I'm always saying that Hezbollah and Hamas went to the same terrorism school. They use civilians as a human shield. Hamas is using the Palestinians in Gaza. Hezbollah is using the Lebanese citizens. And if we were to attack and get into Lebanon, unfortunately, it will be a ground operation. And we call it, would there be a third Lebanon war? Because there was a first one in 1982, as you rightly said, where Hezbollah attacked Israel. There was another one in 2006, when again Hezbollah attacked Israel. If we were not operating now in Gaza, I think that we would have entered Lebanon much earlier, because the kind of attacks that we are facing from Lebanon, no normal country can not survive, but really accept it. And Israel is attacking very, I would say, just as a small response to what Hezbollah is doing, because we are busy in Gaza. But it seems that Nasrallah is trying to push us into attacking, and attacking is not an attacking, is actually Israel defending. And it's important to remember that we don't want to get into Lebanon. We don't want to get into this operation in Lebanon, but we need to defend ourselves. It doesn't make sense that the cities of the north of Israel are bombarded all the time and we sit quiet. We have the right to defend ourselves, and I would prefer to do it in the right time. But Nasrallah is pushing us to defend ourselves and stop this harassment that is constantly happening from Lebanon. They started it in October. Don't be mistaken, we're talking about it now. But since October 7, when Hamas started the war in the south, Nasrallah gave support to Sinwar from the north, from attacking Israel in the northern border. So we are facing those two fronts simultaneously. I think that we need to get into a pact with Gaza and the Palestinians and Hamas in Gaza. And I hope that we will not need to go into Lebanon. This is really the last thing that we want. Of course, Israel can manage multi-fronts. We've been in this in the past. We were attacked in the past. They don't like us to be here in this region, but let me tell them we are here to stay. This is our country. This is our life. We don't have anywhere to go. This is the only Jewish country in the world. So as Golda Meir, our prime minister, this is our secret sauce. This is our secret weapon. We don't have other option. So we will fight, whether it will be Lebanon or Syria or Iran or Hamas or whomever attacks us. And I'm happy to have friends like India, like US, like Germany, like Europe, that understand the situation that we are in and support us in many ways, of course.
Just picking up from that last point, India-Israel relations have improved by leaps and bounds since diplomatic ties were first established. But how does Israel view, for example, India's position or support for a two-nation solution?
So the two-nation solution, and again, that's my personal view, is not a bad thing, okay? Eventually, I'm not saying that it will be next year or in 2 years, but eventually the Palestinians need to have their government, their nation. I don't have an issue with that. The point is that in the past, whether it's Oslo Accords or other peace treaties, We agreed that Palestinians will have their own country. You show Abu Mazen in the background. Abu Mazen in the West Bank has its own administration. Hamas, since 2007 in Gaza, is managing their own administration. So it's not that it wasn't discussed in the past. The point is, if they have a nation, let there be a nation that seeks peace with us, not a nation that just takes all the resources and the international support and translate it into hatred and ammunition. That's what we are against. But personally, I'm not against Palestinians, and I have no issue that India says there should be a two-state solution. But there is a passage until Palestinians can have their own autonomic country, because there is some work to do before that.
And there's some reports in India, at least, suggesting that there has been some kind of ammunition or not weaponry, but weapons of some sort that have reverse supplied. And India has reverse supplied. I mean, India has a lot of Israeli weaponry here. But is there any buzz about that in Israel, about India sending munitions?
I read the same stories that you read. The defense relations between Israel and India is one of the major sector where Israel is doing a lot of R&D and then do manufacturing in India for India and for other purposes. So it just makes sense that in time of need, India will support us, like Israel supported India in Kargil war and in many other operations where we supported India with ammunition, with the good relations between Netanyahu and Modi. And it's beyond Netanyahu with Modi. It goes down to the streets. We feel the support of India. We're happy about the relations. And I'm happy that in time of need, India stands to our side and help us with whatever we need and they can provide.
One of your specialities, of course, is business and economics and investment. So how is India-Israel relations on that front progressing so far?
So I see a lot of progress in the sense that, especially since COVID and now in the war, many Israeli companies are stepping out of their China manufacturing and are looking for alternatives. And in the past, let's say 2 years, many companies are approaching us and asking, okay, where can we manufacture in India? What is the right city? Who are the right partners? And with the semiconductor growing in India, an Israeli company called Tower is now setting a big, hopefully, manufacturing facility in India. After COVID, many biotech companies that manufactured elsewhere are now looking at Hyderabad to manufacture for the pharmaceutical. So many companies are now understanding that India is the right destination for investment. Many industries are moving to India. And with the good relations, and especially this event, as you mentioned, that India is supporting us in time of need, the sentiment towards India is a good one. And I truly hope that it will increase our bilateral trade that grew dramatically in the past few years. And we will reach, hopefully soon, a 10 billion bilateral trade. And interest is an important thing to strengthen also diplomatic relations. So it's all eventually connected.
Israel's backer, Anat, the biggest backer, of course, is the US, and they are already entered presidential election mode. Many would say lame duck, etc. How would this period affect US-Israel relations in terms of aid that you need against Hamas and Hezbollah as of now, and who knows, against Iran?
So it's really, I would say, you know what? I wouldn't say difficult time, but it is challenging times because Biden is under a lot of pressure from his party, knowing that November is around the corner. But on the other hand, former President Trump was very supportive of Israel. And so the public in the US faces two candidates that are supporting Israel. In the Biden-Trump last week, Trump attacked Biden for not supporting Israel enough, which means that Trump will be a good president for Israel, but Biden proved to be a good president for Israel. There are some conflicts between Netanyahu government and Biden's administration, but in the bottom line, when Israel is really in need, US always comes in support. And I'm sure that this relations and strong relation will continue no matter whether it will be Biden or someone else or Trump. This is our biggest ally, and I'm very confident of those relations.
Anat Bernstein-Reich, again, thank you so much for your time and sharing all your experience and expertise with us and our viewers on StratNews Global.
Thank you, Amitabh.
And for all our viewers, do send us feedback on this particular interview. You can also follow all our social media handles for the latest articles that we put up on our website. And of course, interviews like this with Anat Bernstein